There are rules governing your life that no one taught you in school. Not because they are secret, not because they are hidden behind some paywall of spiritual privilege, but because the people who raised you, the people who educated you, the people who built the systems you navigate every day did not know them either. They were operating under the same invisible architecture you are, subject to the same forces, producing the same results, and never once stopping to ask why the same patterns kept repeating regardless of how hard they tried to change them. These rules are not suggestions. They are not philosophies you can agree or disagree with. They are laws. They operate whether you believe in them or not, the same way gravity operates whether you believe in it or not. Step off a building and your opinion about gravity becomes irrelevant. The law does not care about your opinion. It cares about your position. And right now, your position relative to these 5 laws is determining every single thing you are experiencing in your life. The money, the relationships, the health, the opportunities, the setbacks, all of it. Not some of it, all of it. And here is what makes this both terrifying and liberating. You do not need to master all 5 at once. You do not need to become a spiritual athlete overnight. Mastering even one of these laws, truly understanding it and bringing your life into alignment with it, will produce changes so dramatic that the people around you will wonder what happened to you. Because these laws do not operate in isolation. They are interconnected. They are threads in the same fabric. Pull one and the entire pattern shifts. Let's walk through them. The first law, the law of clarity. Before the universe can deliver anything to you, you must know what you are asking for. And this sounds so obvious, so elementary, that most people skip it entirely and wonder why their life feels like it is being assembled by a committee that was never given a blueprint. Here is the truth about what most people call desire. It is vague, devastatingly, disastrously vague. They say they want more money. They say they want a better relationship. They say they want to be happy. And they believe these statements constitute a request. But the universe does not respond to generalities. It responds to specifics. Saying, "I want more money," is like walking into a restaurant, sitting down and telling the waiter, "Bring me food." Technically, you have communicated something, but you have not placed an order. And you will receive whatever the kitchen decides to send out, which may or may not be anything you actually wanted. Clarity is not just the first step. It is the foundation upon which every other law rests. Without it, the remaining 4 laws have nothing to work with. They are engines without a destination, power without direction, and undirected power does not create, it scatters. So what does real clarity look like? It looks like knowing not just the thing you want, but the feeling the thing represents. Because you never actually want the thing itself. You want the experience of having it. You do not want $1 million. You want the feeling of security, freedom, and choice that you believe $1 million would provide. You do not want a specific person to love you. You want the feeling of being deeply seen, valued, and cherished that you believe that person's love would give you. The thing is a vehicle. The feeling is the destination. And when you get clear on the feeling, something remarkable happens. You realize there may be 1,000 vehicles that can take you there. You have been fixated on one specific route while the universe has been trying to offer you 12 others, all of which would deliver the same emotional destination faster and with less resistance. This is why the first law requires you to get specific about the vibration you are seeking, not just the physical form you think it should take. Everything in this universe is a vibration. Every person, every place, every experience, every object carries a frequency. And what you are actually attracted to, what you are actually calling into your life, is never the thing. It is the frequency the thing carries. When you identify that frequency clearly, when you can name the feeling and describe the inner experience you are truly seeking, you have placed a precise order with a universe that is remarkably efficient at delivery as long as it knows what you are asking for. Sit with this before you move on. Ask yourself honestly, do I actually know what I want? Not the surface version, not the socially acceptable version, the real version, the feeling beneath the goal, the experience beneath the achievement. Because until you have answered that question with genuine specificity, every other law you attempt to work with will produce diluted, confusing, or contradictory results. Clarity is not optional. It is the price of admission. The second law, the law of assumption. This is the law that most people have heard of, but almost no one practices correctly. And the gap between hearing it and practicing it is the gap between knowing that fire is hot and actually pulling your hand out of the flame. The law of assumption states that your assumptions about yourself and about reality are not passive observations. They are active instructions. Every single thing you believe, the universe registers as a command. Not the things you say you believe, not the affirmations you recite in the morning while your stomach churns with doubt. The things you actually believe at the deepest level of your being. The beliefs that are so embedded in your psyche that you do not experience them as beliefs at all. You experience them as facts, as the way things are, as reality itself. And the universe is listening to all of them, constantly, without pause, without filter, without distinguishing between the ones that serve you and the ones that destroy you. It hears, "I am worthy of love," and it hears, "There are no good men out there," with exactly the same attentiveness. It does not judge your beliefs. It does not correct them. It does not say, "That one seems unhelpful, let me ignore it." It simply takes each belief as a blueprint and begins constructing the corresponding reality with flawless precision. This is why tracking your thoughts is not a luxury or a spiritual hobby. It is a survival skill. Because you are broadcasting instructions every moment of every day, and the vast majority of those instructions are ones you did not consciously choose. They were handed to you by your parents, by your culture, by your early experiences, by the media you consumed, by the stories you were told about how the world works and what people like you can expect from it. It's hard to earn money. That is not an observation about the economy. That is an instruction to the universe to make earning money difficult for you specifically. I always attract the wrong people. That is not a reflection on your dating history. That is a command to keep delivering people who confirm the belief. Good things don't last for me. That is not a pattern you noticed. That is a pattern you are creating, one assumption at a time, with the full creative power of your consciousness. The practice of this law is deceptively simple. You begin to watch your thoughts the way a security guard watches a door. Not every thought that approaches is allowed to enter. Not every belief that presents itself is granted residency in your mind. You start to notice the habitual assumptions that run on autopilot, the ones you think 100 times a day without ever questioning their validity. And when you catch one that contradicts what you are trying to create, you do not fight it. Fighting a thought gives it energy. You simply decline to entertain it. You notice it the way you notice a stranger on the street. You see it. You let it pass. And you redirect your attention to the assumption you are choosing to hold instead. Over time, this is not willpower. It is rewiring. The old assumptions weaken from lack of attention. The new ones strengthen from repetition. And as your dominant assumptions shift, the instructions being received by the universe shift with them. New realities begin to form, not because you performed a magic trick, but because you changed the blueprint. The third law, the law of vibration. Everything in this universe vibrates. This is not a spiritual assertion. It is a physical one. At the subatomic level, nothing is still. Everything is in motion. Everything is oscillating at a particular frequency. The chair you are sitting in, the screen you are reading from, the body you inhabit, the thoughts you are thinking, the emotions you are feeling, all of it is vibration. And you, as a conscious being, are not separate from this field of vibration. You are a part of it. You are a broadcasting station, sending out a signal 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whether you are aware of it or not. The ancient principle of correspondence expressed this perfectly: as above, so below; as within, so without. What exists inside you will be reflected outside you. Your internal vibration and your external reality are not two separate things. They are two expressions of the same thing. One is the signal, the other is the echo. And the echo will always match the signal. It has no capacity to do otherwise. This means that everything you do throughout the day, everything you think, everything you feel, is contributing to your overall vibration. It is creating your aura, your energetic signature, the frequency you are broadcasting into a universe that is always, always listening. And the universe does not respond to what you say you want. It responds to the frequency you are actually emitting. This is why two people can use the same affirmation, follow the same technique, read the same book, and get wildly different results. The technique is not the variable. The vibration behind the technique is the variable. One person says, "I am abundant," from a state of genuine inner fullness. Another person says, "I am abundant," while their entire nervous system is vibrating with financial terror. The words are identical. The vibrations are opposite. And the universe responds to the vibration, not the words. So the question becomes, what is your resting vibration? Not your peak vibration. Not the frequency you reach during a meditation or an inspired moment. Your resting vibration. The frequency you return to by default when you are not actively trying to feel good. When you are stuck in traffic. When you are lying in bed at 3 a.m. When you are scrolling through your phone without thinking. That default state is your true broadcast signal. And that signal is what is creating the majority of your experience. Raising your vibration is not about reaching temporary emotional highs. It is about raising the floor. It is about elevating your default state so that even on an ordinary, unremarkable day, your baseline frequency is one of trust rather than fear, of openness rather than contraction, of quiet confidence rather than chronic anxiety. When you raise the floor, you do not need peak experiences to manifest what you want. Your ordinary state is already high enough to attract it, and this is when reality begins to feel like it is cooperating with you effortlessly, because the signal you are sending in your worst moments is still cleaner and more coherent than the signal most people send in their best. The fourth law, the law of detachment. This is the law that will feel like a contradiction until the moment it doesn't. And when it clicks, it changes everything you think you know about desire, effort, and receiving. The law of detachment says that you must release your attachment to the outcome you want in order to receive it. And every instinct you have will rebel against this. Your mind will say, "If I let go, it means I don't want it anymore. If I stop holding on, it will slip away. My grip is the only thing keeping the possibility alive." But this logic is exactly backwards. Your grip is the thing keeping it at a distance. Here is why. When you are attached to an outcome, when your emotional well-being depends on whether or not this specific thing arrives in this specific way by this specific time, you are not vibrating at the frequency of having. You are vibrating at the frequency of desperate need. And desperate need is a signal that communicates one thing to the universe with absolute clarity. I do not have this. I am incomplete without it. I am not whole unless it arrives. The universe, being the perfect mirror that it is, receives that signal and reflects back more experiences of not having, more feelings of incompleteness, more evidence that you are not whole. This is the cruel irony that traps millions of people. The tighter they hold on, the further the thing moves away. The more desperately they need it, the more elusive it becomes. Not because the universe is withholding it as punishment, but because their attachment is the vibration of lack, and the universe can only deliver a match to the vibration it receives. Detachment does not mean you stop wanting. It does not mean you become indifferent. It does not mean you abandon your vision and wander through life with no preferences. Detachment means you want something without needing it to feel okay. You hold your desire the way you hold a preference for sunny weather. You would enjoy it, you would welcome it, but if it rains, you are still fine. Your inner state is not contingent on the sky. Your wholeness is not conditional on the forecast. This is the energy that magnetizes. When someone wants something but is clearly not desperate for it, when they carry an air of calm expectation rather than frantic need, they become almost irresistibly attractive to the very thing they desire. You have seen this in people. The person who is relaxed about money seems to attract more of it. The person who is at peace with being single often finds love faster than the person who is searching for it with wild eyes and a racing heart. The person who enjoys their work without clinging to promotions seems to be the one who gets promoted first. This is not coincidence. This is law. The absence of desperation is a high-frequency signal. It communicates completion. It communicates wholeness. It communicates that you are already abundant, already loved, already enough. And that signal, that clean broadcast of inner sufficiency, is what draws the physical manifestation toward you, because the universe is simply confirming what you already feel to be true. The practical application of detachment is this. After you have gotten clear on what you want, after you have assumed it is done, after you have felt the vibration of its fulfillment, you must hand the delivery over to a force larger than yourself and stop checking the tracking number. You do your inner work. You maintain your state. And then you release the when, the how, and the specific form it must take. You trust that what is coming may look different than what you imagined, but will feel exactly like what you asked for. And you go about your life with the quiet confidence of someone who has placed an order at a restaurant and knows the kitchen is working on it, even though the plate has not yet arrived at the table. The fifth law, the law of aligned action. This is the law that completes the circuit. Without it, the other four remain theoretical, beautiful ideas with no grounding in the physical world. And this universe, for all its invisible mechanics, is a place where things must eventually become physical to be experienced. The spiritual and the material are not enemies. They are partners. And this final law is the handshake between them. The law of aligned action states that once you have clarified your desire, assumed its fulfillment, raised your vibration to match it, and detached from the desperate need for it to arrive, you must act. But not any kind of action. Aligned action. And the difference between aligned action and desperate action is the difference between everything you have been doing that hasn't worked and everything that is about to change. Desperate action comes from fear. It is the frantic resume sending, the obsessive checking, the compulsive strategizing that comes from a belief that if you stop moving for even a moment, everything will collapse. Desperate action is exhausting because it is working against the current. It is trying to force an outcome from a state of lack, and every result it produces is contaminated with the energy that created it. You might get the job through desperate effort, but it will be the wrong job. You might secure the relationship through manipulation, but it will feel hollow. The fruit is always tainted by the soil it grew in. Aligned action feels different in your body. It is characterized by a sense of rightness rather than urgency. It often arrives not as a calculated strategic move, but as an impulse, an intuition, a quiet pull towards something that your rational mind might not fully understand. It is the phone call you feel moved to make without knowing why. It is the event you feel drawn to attend even though it is out of your usual routine. It is the conversation you initiate because something inside you simply said now. This is your inner guidance system communicating through feeling rather than logic. And when you have done the work of the first four laws, when your vibration is clean, and your assumptions are aligned, and your attachment has been released, this guidance system becomes remarkably loud and clear. You begin to recognize it, you begin to trust it, and you begin to follow it, even when it doesn't make logical sense, because you have learned that the intelligence orchestrating your life sees far more than your conscious mind ever could. Aligned action also includes something most people do not think of as action at all. It includes saying no. It includes walking away from situations that lower your vibration. It includes declining invitations that do not match the life you are building. It includes resting when rest is what is needed, rather than pushing forward out of guilt or fear of falling behind. Sometimes the most powerful action you can take is to do nothing, to wait, to remain still while the pieces arrange themselves. This is not passivity. It is strategic patience. It is the understanding that not every moment requires a move, and that sometimes the highest form of action is the willingness to trust the timing of a process you cannot see. Now, here is what most people never understand about these 5 laws. They are not a sequence you perform once. They are not a checklist you complete and then file away. They are a way of being, a continuous living practice that becomes the operating system of your daily life. You do not master them in a weekend workshop. You master them by integrating them into the texture of your ordinary existence, into the way you wake up, into the way you respond to challenges, into the way you think about yourself when no one is watching. And here's the most beautiful thing about this practice. The 5 laws work together as a unified system. When you get clear on what you want, your assumptions begin to shift naturally toward alignment with that desire. When your assumptions shift, your vibration rises automatically. When your vibration rises, detachment becomes easier because you no longer feel the desperate lack that created the attachment in the first place. And when you are detached and vibrating at the frequency of fulfillment, aligned action presents itself effortlessly because you are no longer clouded by fear and urgency. Each law feeds the next. Each one makes the others easier. And the cumulative effect of all 5 operating in harmony is a life that feels almost miraculous from the outside, but is actually the most natural thing in the world. It is a life in alignment with laws that were always operating. You are simply working with them now instead of against them. You are swimming with the current instead of thrashing against it. And the current was always heading toward everything you wanted. It was only ever your resistance that made the journey feel so long. So begin, not with all 5, not with the pressure of perfection. Begin with whichever law resonates most strongly with you in this moment. Get clear on what you want, or examine the beliefs that have been running your life without your permission. Or start to notice your default vibration, and gently, without judgment, begin to raise it. Or practice releasing your grip on one outcome that you have been clutching with white knuckles. Or listen for the quiet impulse of aligned action that you have been ignoring because it did not match your plan. Start with 1, trust the process, and pay attention, because once you begin to work with these laws consciously, once you start to feel even the smallest shift in your experience, you will understand something that no one can explain to you, but that changes everything the moment you feel it for yourself. The universe was never ignoring you. It was always responding. Perfectly, precisely, every single moment. It was simply responding to the signal you didn't know you were sending. Now you know. And that knowledge is the beginning of a completely different life.